I'm sure another YouTuber has talked about this topic, because I can't be the only one who feels this way. But I feel like I really need to talk about the absolutely abysmal quality of cartoons in recent years. This video is sort of a follow-up from the Ben 10 review I did a few months ago, as after I gave my thoughts in the video, I turned to the comment section to see people passionately writing about how they thought cartoons nowadays are being dumbed down. And I completely agree. So that's why today I'm going to be talking about the problem with modern cartoons. When I was a kid back in the good old days of the early 2000s, I grew up with shows such as the original Ben 10, Teen Titans, and Beast Machines Transformers. What do all three of these shows have in common? They're all heavily plot and action orientated, and while shows like Teen Titans and Ben 10 had humour sprinkled throughout the episodes, they mainly focused on an overarching plot and contained a lot of action. I grew up with shows that contained violence, character development, clever humour, and fantastic plot that spanned entire seasons. All of that is completely absent from cartoons nowadays, which, to me at least, all seem completely similar, in the sense that they're all terrible, that is. The days of shows that contain a mix of action, plot, and comedy, such as Generator Rex, Bionic Titans, Spectacular Spider-Man, and Wakfu, are gone. Welcome to 2017, where plot is irrelevant, but being loud and obnoxious is crucial. The focus on plot and character development has shifted away to focus on quick humour and bright colours that kids will instantly latch onto. And you know why? Because companies are prioritising profit over quality, and as a result, a very large majority of the shows nowadays are incredibly rushed and dull, only appealing to the youngest of kids because they will eat it up regardless of what it actually contains. The process now seems to be, take a show that was originally an action show and turn it into a crappy parody of itself. I'm not trying to say these types of shows have only recently been introduced, as there have been cartoons like this for ages. Networks like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon didn't just have action cartoons, they also had comedy shows that are vaguely reminiscent of those nowadays, such as Ed, Edd n Eddy or Fairly Odd Parents. The best thing though was that these networks usually contained a perfect mix of these two contrasting styles of cartoons. It's only since the success of shows like Adventure Time that cartoons like this have been absolutely dominating the market, and now it's less of a mix and more of a rarity to see the other half of what was once harmony. There are a few action shows left floating around amidst the hundreds of SpongeBob or Teen Titans Go episodes, but it's much harder to find these than not. On that note, I'm not going to go too deep into how horrible Teen Titans Go is, as I'll save that for an episode of Ruined Forever. But Go serves as a good representation of everything wrong with these modern cartoons. Dumb humour, idiotic plot, and ridiculous characters. Most shows follow the 2 episode per time slot format, with episodes running for about 10 minutes long and focusing on a short story heavily dominated by humour. And by humour, I mean fart jokes and whatever else will keep kids entertained for more than a few minutes. Shows like Uncle Grandpa, the Ben 10 reboot, the terrible Powerpuff Girls reboot, they all contain quick pacing and the same type of comedy, completely disregarding the importance for character or plot development in exchange for loud and obnoxious humour. Because kids love that stuff. They harness this sort of lol random type of humour, and attempts to be as loud and annoying as possible and completely disregards plot. This sort of style can work if done right. Look at the Lego Movie and the Lego Batman movie, for example. 2 fantastic films with this same type of humour that still contain a very well done plot. But the jokes in most of these shows are lazy, unoriginal, cliched, and horrendously unfunny. This is not to say that these types of shows have never been done before, but it is quite apparent that nowadays this style of cartoon is absolutely dominating the market, with only a few shows remaining as action and plot orientated. There's just barely any of them left, which is an incredibly sad thought. This is because it is rather difficult to make an action orientated show that is successful, and a lot of time and effort has to be placed into creating these types of shows. Writing character development and creating lovable characters is not an easy thing to do, and while possible, many shows obviously struggle to do so. So majority of studios have obviously thought, why bother? Why go to all the effort to build a universe when we can make a quick buck by doing essentially nothing? Hey, so you know how we've got the Ben 10 IP, right? Mm-hmm. You know how the show is well known for action and comedy and plot? Yep. How am I going to go about writing the first episode? Mm-hmm. Would it be like an origin story? How about instead we have Ben stand there and everyone goes quiet and then he farts? What? Farts. But we need character development. Unfortunately for us, the older and more critical audience, we are able to look at these shows and see how crappy they are. But the target audience of kids don't. If they see bright colours and loud noises, they'll love it regardless of what it contains. Add in some cheap humour like loud noises and fart jokes, which is basically Teen Titans Go in a nutshell, and they're bound to love and watch it. And that's exactly why these types of shows succeed. Kids eat it up, and producers make millions off this show they've barely put any effort into. And honestly, they don't give a crap what people like us think about it, because they still make money off of it. The creators of Teen Titans Go have even broken the fourth wall in an episode and addressed all the hate the series is getting, only to completely brush it off. They basically put the middle finger up and said they don't care. Haha, we know we suck, but we have more money than you do. These cartoons require no thought, no intelligence, no anything. They treat the viewers like idiots. These non-plot driven cartoons focus on a single gag or gimmick that serves as the basis for the episode, and that's it. No time for overarching story, character development, lesson learning, or anything like that. Just as many dumb jokes as possible that'll keep kids staring at the screen. I'm not trying to say that every cartoon needs to contain these things, but it's absolutely ridiculous that barely any of them have these now. Remember when shows contained clever humor? Well, not anymore. Butt jokes. We're hilarious. Some shows that follow this format have been fantastic. Take Regular Show, for example. Kids still loved it, even though the show was aimed at an older audience, and as such it did insanely well. Regular Show had fantastic characters and plot, deep and rich relationships and scenarios, and overall was a fantastically written show. And now it's cancelled. So networks such as Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon have gotten rid of anything with any actual plot and replaced it with shitty rush reboots of old and popular IPs. For example, Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated was a brilliant show that contained both clever humor and intense plot that both younger and older audiences could enjoy. What was it replaced by? This garbage that looks like it was made in Microsoft Paint. Aren't shows supposed to get better with time? What the hell happened? Unfortunately, big names plus cheap animation equals profit. Hence why so many older and more successful Cartoon Network shows have been remade lately. It's interesting, however, as in recent times it has been shown that it is indeed possible to make shows aimed at older audiences that are still successful, and still make lots of that sweet, sweet money. For example, Transformers Prime and Gravity Falls, two insanely well-written shows that were popular with both kids and older audiences. Another example is the all-new Samurai Jack season airing on Adult Swim because it's too mature for the shitfest that dominate Cartoon Network nowadays, and yet the show's still incredibly successful, even with its mature rating and limited viewing time. Yet another example of this is Young Justice, an insanely popular cartoon that was cancelled due to a lack of toy sales. Seriously. Even though the show was popular and many people were watching it, it was taken off the air because not enough people were buying merchandise. However, since its cancellation, the large fanbase had made their cries for the show to return, and now it finally will. Young Justice is getting a Season 3, based on nothing but the cravings of fans. These plot-driven cartoons have thousands of people that love them, as they get time to love and care about the characters. We care about the plot because it's well written, we care about what happens to the characters because they're developed throughout the series, and we care if the show is cancelled because we need to know how it ends. These new cartoons? Well, I highly doubt many people will give a shit if Teen Titans Go isn't given its 180th season. From these examples, it should be apparent that it is possible to make something with more than fart jokes in it that is successful. And that's why it's so frustrating to see so many companies just taking the easy route and crapping out shows like Teen Titans Go. Another reason these shows are so dumbed down is because of how the world is slowly and unfortunately becoming more and more PC. That is, politically correct. Everything has to be PC so it doesn't offend someone or cause any controversy. I recall a memory from my childhood in which my parents stopped me watching episodes of Ben 10 because of a report in the newspaper claiming that the violence in the show was encouraging kids to become more violent. Seriously. Cartoons like Steven Universe and Legend of Korra contain controversial themes such as same-sex relationships and explore the issues that come with that, and were punished by the networks for it and given crappy airing times to be pushed aside for more of these newer cartoons. These new shows eliminate any controversial themes or violence or anything of actual intelligence so that they don't contain anything that will make parents concerned. I mean, I don't see how twerking kindergartners is any better, but you do you, I guess. On top of that, there's always the point that kids won't understand the rich plot and story of action-orientated shows, and it's just easier to make an episode about something as simple as an obsession with pies. Or having a large belly. This is a real show. However, I, among obviously many others, even as a kid managed to understand what Ben 10 was about. Maybe not the entire thing, but it still made sense and was very enjoyable. In my opinion, these types of shows are making kids dumber. Maybe that's why so many of them are turning out like this.
Welcome to my mine. We are mining diamonds. We are not a strip mine. We don't have to fry mobs.
The attention span of people seems to shorten with each coming year, and apparently no one has time for 20-minute episodes anymore. Hence why the 10-minute minisodes are so popular. Shows with plot allowed kids and adults to become invested in the plot and character, which is exactly the reason I love shows like Ben 10 and Transformers so much. Regardless of age, a good show is a good show, and if understanding what's going on is really a concern for parents, then your child probably isn't that smart. Kids absolutely adore these new types of shows, and I'm sure there's already someone in the comments writing me out a lovely essay about how Teen Titans Go is their favorite show of all time, but to be honest, these types of cartoons are just embarrassing. Many feel that companies are taking names and shows that they once loved and crapping all over them. For example, Teen Titans, Ben 10, and the Powerpuff Girls. And sadly, it is true. I'm not trying to say that it's impossible to enjoy shows like this, because it isn't. If they're done right, they can be fantastic. Despite what I've said, it doesn't mean every cartoon nowadays is absolute garbage. There are some gems amidst all of the horrible ones, such as We Bare Bears, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, The Amazing World of Gumball, Adventure Time even. Some creators still do care about the product they're making, and pour time and effort into what they make, and as a result their hard work pays off. Hence why those shows are so popular. At the very least, one benefit of all of these garbage cartoons coming out is that the standards are lowered for everyone, and allow you to appreciate what few good shows do come our way even more. But action cartoons are most certainly dying out. In fact, any cartoon that doesn't follow this sort of format is a rarity nowadays. One of the only good plot-orientated shows that have come out in recent times that I can think of is Voltron Legendary Defender, and that's not even on TV, it's only on Netflix. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like this new style of cartoon is going away anytime soon. And it looks as if it's going to become more and more popular until this is the only type of cartoon left. Let's hope that creators eventually prioritize quality over quantity, but I honestly doubt that's going to happen anytime soon.
Never